The baby being carried into hospital by his uncle is just one small testament to the health crisis gripping Gaza. Audet is an orphan, his parents killed in the war, but his wider family, who are bringing him up, have scarcely enough food to feed themselves, let alone him as well.
Audet is suffering severe malnutrition. He's not accepting milk or nutrients, nor supplements at all, and that's all due to his very difficult health condition.
The hunger crisis gripping Gaza affects those with underlying health conditions first. Then it moves to children whose mothers are too malnourished and dehydrated to breastfeed. Children like Mohammed, whose grandmother Fayaza brought him to this World Health Organization clinic, which is now full.
There's nothing. Where can I get food? I mean, there is no food in all of Gaza. We're in a state of child famine. Even a 6-month-old baby is supposed to be fed. There's nothing at all. Not even a simple biscuit is available so we can feed him.
Earlier this week, the WHO's staff building in Deir al-Balah was attacked by Israeli forces. The men were handcuffed, stripped and then interrogated, while the women and children were forced to evacuate on foot. Then the main warehouse was attacked. After that, it was looted by desperate Palestinians. All this a recipe for Gaza's malnutrition to get worse. Israel says it allows enough aid in, and it blames the UN for failing to distribute it. But this soup kitchen speaks otherwise, as do over 100 aid agencies who say mass starvation is spreading, with even aid workers not eating in order to feed their children first. I'm joined now by Samir Chaloub, who's a senior aid worker with the Mercy Corps charity, talking to us from Oslo. Samir, just to start with, aid agencies have been telling us about hunger for over a year now. News agencies have been sending pictures out of hungry children in clinics. But I wondered what was sort of quantitatively different now from, say, a year ago.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. As one can imagine, things are not getting any better. To the contrary, things are getting worse as people are frustrated with the inaction. Picture a population of hungry civilians, while the aid is right across the border, ready to be delivered, but being unable to do that. Instead, they're risking their lives at distribution centers. We're seeing increased number of deaths there. This should have never happened.
You say that the aid is waiting at the border and it's not coming across. The Israelis would say, well, that's the fault of the UN. They say the aid is ready to go. It is the UN that is causing the delay. What's your response to that?
I think the idea that we are going with a back and forth on that while people are literally starving is unconscionable. And what needs to be done here is to look at the immediate opening of the border crossings first, as a first and foremost step. This is not a matter of logistical negotiations. This is a political crisis, and we need to get to the solution so that aid can flow at scale within the Gaza Strip and reaching civilians, instead of getting civilians to run through dangerous active engagement zones, risking their lives, getting shot to simply guarantee a meal a day.
But the most powerful governments in the world have been saying similar things to what you're saying now. You must have asked yourself why nobody has managed to persuade the Israelis to behave differently.
I think that's a really good comment, Jonathan. When civilians in Gaza hear about a deal or an agreement on opening or reaching a humanitarian agreement with either or of the parties to the conflict, of course, the expectations are really high, and they do expect that to translate into action on the ground. However, bilateral agreements alone, without action on the ground, are empty promise for people. And what we are calling on the international community, on governments, on member states, is to ensure, as they engage, with the party in control of that access, in this case, Israel, to make sure that this comes with concrete steps. And the measurement here is certainly not the number of trucks and the number of boxes distributed. We're seeing people fade, literally, and we need to make sure that this is taken into account and that success looks like people being able to have a dignified access to the aid, are well nourished, and are not facing acute diseases and illnesses as a result of malnutrition.
And am I right in saying that a lot of the children we're seeing entering clinics in Gaza, children who are hungry because their mothers are too malnourished to be able to breastfeed?
That is one small example, Jonathan, really. People, I mean, our staff reports seeing people walking dizzy in the streets, and barely able to move in under such a heat, but also under the active conflict and war and shots, etc. So we are hearing of people willing to take that risk, but also children loudly saying, and that was also in the joint statement, quite well reflected.
This is
Children
the statement by over 100 charities, including yourself.
Yes, Jonathan, and children are, it's not the first time we hear a child wishing to simply move on and die and move to heaven because there's availability of food there. That's just one small example of how desperate the population has become today, and that is clearly a man-made fault here.
And one of the things that's shocking about it is that it's not like we're not seeing it. I mean, we're seeing the video pictures. They're being broadcast around the world, and still this situation continues.
And this calls, I think, a zoomed back look at what world does the international community, do governments want to see, want to live in, want to give to the next generation. And this doesn't look promising at all. When we look at the international rules-based order, where the rules have to apply on everybody, including your best friends, including your allies. And what we're seeing here is more words of condemnation where the energy could actually be channeled into working directly and, expressing with strictness that we need to see the results now and find any possible solution to be able to get there.
Samir Chaloub, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.